So, today we're diving into something massive. We're talking about a huge shift in how the world's largest democracy is thinking about its internet. And with more than 1 billion users, what happens in India is going to reshape the digital world for a whole lot of people. It all starts with a pretty wild question. Yeah, you heard that right. Could India actually ban teenagers from social media? Now, this isn't just some crazy headline I pulled from the web. It's a very real proposal, and it's at the heart of a whole new plan for regulating the internet that could, well, change everything. So here's the deal. A lawmaker, LSK Devrialu, has put forward a bill that would straight up ban anyone under 16 from even having a social media account. And here's why this is a big deal. His party is a key ally in the ruling coalition, which means this proposal has some serious political weight behind it. But why? What's the thinking behind such a drastic move? Well, it goes way beyond just protecting kids. The government's own economic survey talks about digital addiction as a real threat to the country's economic productivity. And there's this other really interesting strategic angle, a fear that Indian kids are essentially becoming unpaid data providers, feeding information to foreign AI systems. And to back it all up, they're pointing to what other countries like Australia and France are doing. All of this, it's really part of a much bigger shift in thinking, a whole new philosophy for how the Indian government sees its job online. It's moving away from being hands-off to becoming something much more active. You could call it digital guardianship. So what does that actually mean? Well, under this idea, the government is no longer just a neutral referee on the sidelines. It's stepping onto the field. It's becoming an active guardian, trying to shape the entire digital space, deciding what's okay, who can see what, and when. And that is a really profound change. You know, this didn't just happen overnight. You can see a clear pattern if you look back. It started with basic cybercrime laws back in 2000. Then in 2008, the government got the power to block websites. Fast forward to 2021, and you've got grievance systems. But this proposed 2026 digital code, it's a whole different ballgame. It's a huge leap into really proactive regulation. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What does this new rulebook actually say? The draft digital code for 2026 lays out some super specific and frankly very strict new rules for pretty much every digital platform out there. First off, there's a mandatory age rating system for all content. And I mean all content. Whether it's a YouTube video or the latest show on Netflix, it's got to be sorted into one of these 5 tiers. And this is the end of an era. Because for anything rated A for adult, that little yes, I am over 18 button, yeah, that's not going to cut it anymore. Platforms are going to need reliable ways to verify your age. The new rules also have this pretty broad list of don'ts, and it's going to be the platform's job to police it all. Now, critics are quick to point out that phrases like communal attitudes or deliberately misleading are, well, they're pretty vague. And that vagueness gives the government a lot of room to decide what counts as a threat to public order and decency. And of course, in today's world, you can't forget about AI. There are strict new rules coming for deepfakes and any other kind of synthetic media. If something is AI generated, it has to have a visible label and it also needs embedded metadata. The idea is to make it traceable so you can see where it came from and stop manipulated content from stirring up trouble. Okay, so you've got all these new rules. But rules are only as good as their enforcement, right? So how exactly does the government plan to police this new digital world? Well, it's building some new tools and backing them up with some seriously steep penalties. Get ready to hear a lot about the Sahyog Portal. Think of it as a centralized system where government agencies can fire off takedown notices to platforms, and they have to act fast. And here's the real kicker. If a platform doesn't comply, it can lose its safe harbor immunity. That's the legal shield that normally protects them from being sued over what their users post. That shield could be gone, just like that. And the money involved here, it's just staggering. Look at this number, 250 crore rupees. That's roughly 30 million US dollars. And that's the maximum penalty a company can face for a single data breach. Believe me, a number like that gets a company's attention. It shows the government is not messing around. And it doesn't stop there. Oh no. On top of that huge number, there's a whole menu of other fines. Platforms can get hit with up to 5 crores for causing injury or damage, and they can get fined daily just for administrative stuff, like not filing the right paperwork. It's a system designed to make non-compliance very, very expensive. So, as you can probably guess, all of this has kicked off a massive debate. It's that classic tug of war, safety versus freedom. And depending on who you ask, you're going to get a very different answer about where that line should be. Okay, so the core argument from streaming platforms like Netflix boils down to this difference between push and pull media. They say that old school linear TV is pushed into your home. You just turn it on, it's there. So it needs strict standards. But their content is pulled. You have to actively search for it, log in with a password, and pay for it. So they're arguing that applying the same old broadcast censorship rules to on-demand content just doesn't make any sense. And this really shows how all the different players are pulling in completely opposite directions. You've got the government focused on child safety and public order. You've got the streaming platforms worried they're going to lose creative freedom. Social media companies are sweating over the massive cost of all this. And then you have civil society groups who are raising red flags about censorship and surveillance. And this is all heading for showdown in the courts because there are some major constitutional questions here. India's Supreme Court has already said that internet access is part of free speech, and any restriction has to pass something called the test of proportionality. Basically, that means the government has to use the smallest hammer possible to fix a problem. A lot of legal experts think a blanket ban on teens might be seen as way too big of a hammer, and that forcing everyone to verify their age could violate the fundamental right to privacy. So at the end of the day, we're left with this one big question that sums it all up. Is India building a safer internet, a place that protects children and keeps society stable? Or is it building a more censored internet where freedom and privacy get sacrificed for the sake of control? The answer is going to define Indian democracy for the digital age.